Next, let's talk about Shambhala. The territory of Shambhala is about 2/3 of our world. In the past, many great masters and Buddhist texts viewed the world with Asia as the center and India as the focus. In this context, it is reasonable to consider Shambhala as covering about 2/3 of India or Asia. This seems more reasonable. The territory of Shambhala is encircled by snow mountain ranges. Within the kingdom, there are 960 million cities, an enormous number. There are that many cities. These cities are also surrounded by snow mountains. In the central region rises the magnificent city of Kalapa, the capital of this kingdom where all Shambhala kings live. Countless rivers of Shambhala wind their way through the land and flow to Kalapa. Since the realm of Shambhala is encircled by snow mountains and seas from the outside, its description might not be fully reflected by places like Tibetan areas or Sikkim. This might not be fully manifested there. We should not necessarily try to locate it using our current geographical positions or mundane maps, as it belongs to a more profound dimension of the world. We cannot necessarily find it using current geographic locations. Most people believe that Shambhala, like the copper-colored mountain, is actually a secret world, a hidden realm. Many foreign explorers and many researchers also wish to find it, but unless you have achieved supreme miraculous power and the state of a great accomplished being, it is not that simple. You cannot possibly arrive there without having achieved supreme miraculous power. Guru Padmasambhava, who possessed such miraculous powers, visited Shambhala and received the Kalachakra teachings and Dusokchen instructions from King Suchandra, the first Dharmaraja of Shambhala. It was King Suchandra who had originally received the Kalachakra teachings from Shakyamuni Buddha, so Guru Padmasambhava also visited Shambhala. What activities do the kings of Shambhala and the citizens carry out? What do they do? Mainly there are two kinds of activities: to subjugate and liberate those who cause harm and suffering to living beings in a wrathful way, to subjugate them with wrathful activity, and to benefit those fortunate practitioners with the sacred Dharma teaching in a peaceful way. They benefit sentient beings through these two methods, peaceful and wrathful. For instance, the final Kalkin king, Rudra Chakrin, is indeed an emanation of Guru Padmasambhava. At a time when the whole world was corrupted with suffering and misfortune, he was born as King Gesar of Ling in the Darza Valley, in calm and pacified all disasters. While it is believed that King Gesar was a real historical figure, some would claim that he is just a legendary king. Indeed, such statements that deny the authentic heroic deeds of Gesar and claim he is not a real historical figure can be only accepted by those who are kind of blind and deaf toward the facts. No one else believes them. King Gesar was truly a historical figure, and the accounts of his life are genuine events. This includes accounts of his kingdom and his authentic deeds. Historical records can attest to this, though some historical accounts may vary from the true history. Some historical accounts may differ in certain respects. His Holiness emphasizes that the ruins of the palaces where King Gesar and his generals used to live can still be seen today. You can see them with your own eyes. If you go on a pilgrimage to the Tibetan regions, you can see. His Holiness gave an example. There was one palace of King Gesar called Sengtruk Tagtse Castle, Lion Cup Tiger Peak Castle, also known as Sengtruk Tagtse. It is located in Dari County, Qinghai. His Holiness said that in 1990, when he was making a pilgrimage to Qinghai, he went past the valley and identified it to be the original site of this castle. He identified it as the original site of Sengtruk Tagtse Castle. At that time, when His Holiness visited in 1990, perhaps through his miraculous powers or his memories of past lives, His Holiness was able to recognize it. At that time, it was just an extensive meadow with no obvious ruins being noticed. Later, when the reconstruction of the palace took place on that spot during the construction process, the walls of the old palace were unearthed, along with other artifacts. These were all discovered later. Both Tibetan and Han scholars engaging in Gesar studies were very excited and convinced that it was the actual site. They were very pleased, because they found some unearthed artifacts. These archaeological findings provided great convenience for their research. There is also a site in Dege that belonged to the neighboring kingdom, including the ruins of King Gesar, his queen Sechang Dugmo, and his general Denma. The ruins of their entire palace complex are all present. Historically, they first lived in the Deghe area of Gaze, in the Deghe area for a while, before gradually moving toward Golok in Qinghai. Looking at history, as was mentioned before, King Gesar lived in the same era as Drogon Chogyal Phagpa. At that time, Marpa Lotsoa, Phagpa and Maitripa, the teacher of Atisha, King Gesar also received teachings from Maitri Yogi. Various historical accounts differ, and it carries a somewhat mythological color, because the Epic of King Gesar remains the longest epic in the world, the most voluminous and content-rich collection. When the site was prepared for the commencement of construction ceremony, His Holiness and his entourage, including Khenpo Namdrol and Godrup Dorje, were all present. His Holiness didn't specify the date, but I remember it was in 1992 during his second visit to Golok. When they were there at the time, the site identified in 1990 that His Holiness had identified had begun construction of Sengtru Castle. I visited it later, around 1997. There is now a dedicated site at the location His Holiness identified, with statues of King Gesar's generals. It now charges admission and has become a developed tourist attraction. I even taught there for a few days. This was built later. The details should be in His Holiness's biography. Regarding this matter, how His Holiness identified the site at the beginning and what happened afterward. Later, Khenpo Namdrol and Godrup Dorje came from India in 1992 for their second visit to Larunga to seek tantric teachings and stayed for about 100 days. When they first arrived, His Holiness went to Qinghai and participated in the ceremony there. That's how it was, because we were in 1993 at the time, and His Holiness had gone there in 1990. Afterward, Godrup Dorje and others attended the foundation ceremony. In the future of the degenerate age, when the Dharma declines, King Gesar will reincarnate as Rudra Chakrin, the 25th Kalkin king of Shambhala. Regarding the Shambhala center, His Holiness was speaking at the center founded by Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche. His Holiness then offered an introduction to their community. As you are well aware, at this Shambhala center there are mainly two spiritual approaches, the approach of Shambhala training and the approach of learning and practicing the traditional Dharma. What is the Shambhala training? This approach is open to any individual, not necessarily a Buddhist. Anyone with faith is welcome. Regardless of which country or part of the world they come from, they should relinquish jealousy toward those superior and treat all beings equally with kindness. This path is primarily to cultivate loving kindness and compassion. With these qualities, a person would make their best effort to benefit all beings. Shambhala has two groups, genuine Buddhists and members of the Shambhala Association. The latter has no strict requirements. All kinds of people, including hippies, can participate. Some people may worry, the participants of the Shambhala training belong to the Dorje Kasung that follows a military style. Could they be a threat to the country and the people here? This was a concern because their numbers were quite large. At this time there were also concerns, while that environment was quite free, because of the nature of their organization where gun ownership is not restricted. So seeing such a large army-like group, some had doubts and were suspicious. If Shambhala were to grow too large, could it become a threat to various countries? At that time, if their numbers grew too large, it wouldn't be easy to address even there. Perhaps nothing would come of it, but elsewhere it would be even harder to say. His Holiness said this is an unnecessary concern. As we know, if we look back through history, we will clearly see that in this country the Shambhala Center has been established for many years. It was established in the 80s. Has it been several years? Has it been 10 years yet? Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche passed away in 1987, but during this entire period, the entire center has never caused the slightest harm to the United States or any other country. Nor has it done a single deed that is harmful to sentient beings of all levels. What will the Dorje Kasung ultimately become? They will become the armies of Rudra Chakrin and extensively benefit beings. The auspicious conditions are already being created now. Therefore, the Shambhala training is a harmless and peaceful path that only brings great benefit to the country and the people. It is an utterly valuable practice. The second approach is the learning and practicing of Buddha Dharma. Within the Shambhala community, every Buddhist will first engage in the preliminary practices and shamatha meditation, followed by the Vajrayogini practice. Then continue with Mahamudra and Dzogchen practices. It is fine if you only follow the Shambhala training or only engage in learning and practicing the Buddha Dharma. What is essential to keep in mind is that the Shambhala training and Buddhist training do not contradict each other. If you can combine both approaches, it is certain that you will achieve perfect peace and happiness in this life and in all your future lifetimes. Many disciples have been dedicating themselves to maintaining this center's tradition for a long time. But more importantly, each of you should enhance your practice in the Shambhala training and the traditional Buddhist training. This model of the Shambhala center is quite suitable for establishing centers abroad. This is quite suitable, having one group of devoted Buddhists who are genuine Buddhists and another group who may not be religious but enjoy reading, participating in activities, and helping out. For our centers nowadays, we should not entirely exclude those who are non-Buddhists. You're not a Vajrayana Buddhist, you cannot enter. We should not be like that. It is better to have two groups, one group of those who have taken refuge and one group who serve as your protector team. The protector team functions like the Shambhala model, without strict requirements for joining. You all know the main situation already. This is just a brief introduction to the pure practice of this center and its enlightened activities. His Holiness was concerned that if this was not made clear, someone might hold doubts about their authenticity and cause trouble or disorder. If some things are not clarified, others may misunderstand, leading to confusion. Some people may worry that the Shambhala training is a threat to the country and the people. Furthermore, within the center itself, if practitioners do not understand that the Shambhala military training and Buddhist practice share the same intent, if they don't understand this point, arguments may arise between the followers of the two programs. In the future, when our Buddhist communities are established in cities, I think both groups are needed. One group of genuine practitioners and one group of non-practitioners, or even those who are helpful to you. This includes the sponsors and advisory teams of our temples today. Your advisory team, your external support teams, this is very important. We should not set the threshold too high, but also not too low. Having these two legitimate groups is most reasonable. Anyway, as I have addressed, the learning and practicing in the Shambhala Center follows a harmless and peaceful path. If you understand that the two programs do not contradict each other but are of the same essence, this is a key point. Then not only will you gain immense benefit, but your neighborhood and country will also benefit. The good reputation will spread wide and far. Your enlightened activities will flourish and prosper. His Holiness finished speaking on this topic. Afterward, His Holiness conferred the King Gesar of Ling empowerment with the ritual he composed. You all should have received this empowerment last year. He also gave the oral transmission of the prayer and offering to the great lion, Gesar the jewel, that spontaneously accomplishes activities. I was originally going to recite it just now, but let me do a brief auspicious recitation. Let me recite the short protective prayer of King Gesar. His Holiness said finally, in order for whatever you wish to be spontaneously fulfilled, I entrusted the Dharma protectors with your enlightened activity. Now you are able to recite offering prayers to the Dharma protectors, as I have given you all the oral transmissions of these prayers, including the extensive, medium and concise ones. With this, Khenpo Jigme Dharma trip to Boston was complete. The day after tomorrow we will go to Canada together. I have already bought the plane tickets. We leave for Canada the day after tomorrow. At this time of year, Canada has yellow leaves around August or September. We went in August at the time. It was very beautiful when we arrived, so we should go and see. See you the day after tomorrow in Canada. Goodbye.
Bandangara Padmasambhava Bandangara Padmasambhava Bandangara Padmasambhava